Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 3, Arsenal 2. Ronaldo don't press. Ronaldo don't press. Ronaldo don't press. Arteta out. Arteta out. I tell you what, you just love football, don't you? Because what's happened tonight, David De Gea has made big saves after allegedly being at fault for the first one. Bruno scored, Ronaldo gets 2, and suddenly you understand that what Ronaldo's job is to win your games of football. And I just think that is just a fantastic bonus result. A bit like the Chelsea game. Didn't play particularly well, but nobody can argue that we didn't deserve the win. I think we scored 3 goals, they scored 2. They were bad defensively, we were bad defensively. It reminded me of Ollie last season, and I think what Carrick has done over the last 3 games, he's done something Ollie couldn't do this season. He's made Manchester United like they were last year, where we can grind out fine margin results, and we saw that with Chelsea and we saw it with Arsenal. I don't think that was a great United performance. I thought there was moments, but ultimately I think Arsenal were the better footballing side, and I think we played quite deep and compact and slow tempo, but we got the win. And the most important thing is you can't really analyse the performance. Player ratings, links in the video description. Mark every player out of 6, 10 being the 6 being the out of 10, 6 being the average. Star for your man of the match. We'll go through that in a few minutes' time. Very interested to see how you mark the players actually and who your man of the match is. I mean, Vum says Fred was absolutely dreadful. I think Fred had a game a little bit like, you could almost say a bit of a Marmite performance, because I thought he basically won us the game, but almost cost us the game at times. But I'll take a performance like that from Fred over from other players who I thought were invisible at times. But let me just say, tonight is a night to put a smile on your face. I mean, I feel dreadful. I don't know, I've got runny nose, but my nose ran more than some of our forwards today, and my nose was running. But, they should be running more than that. And I think that ultimately there isn't really a negative to be had in relation to the style of football. It was all about the result. There was times in that game I would have took a point, because ultimately there was times in that game, certainly in the first half, where I thought Arsenal might win it. And if Arsenal win that game, they're 8 points ahead of us. Tonight, we're 2 points behind them, and we've got a really good run of fixtures. And tomorrow is reset day. Tomorrow is new Manchester United. Tomorrow is a man who doesn't know our ex-players, has never managed the club before, he's never played for the club before, and his style of football is fast, attacking, high-tempo, pass-forward football. If you can't put a smile on your face tonight, I can't get a smile on your face. We've just beaten Arsenal with basically Solskjaer's tactics, and tomorrow we're getting better tactics. And it's exciting. It's very exciting. So I think that's the thing for me. Looking forward to seeing a coherent system of players and fine margins and disjointed plays out the window, says Rohit. Shamoni, says Thorder. And I think, look, positivity is the key. I'm going to enjoy doing the player ratings, but positivity is the key. I think the most important thing is, what would you think Rangnick thought of that game? And I personally think he would be happy with the result, over the moon with the result, and he'll go in tomorrow positive, and he'll use that positivity with the players. He doesn't need to go in and tell people off. I'd take that positivity and then teach them something completely different. That would be my approach. I'd probably go in the dressing room and go, well done everybody, can't wait to work with you. But deep down I'd be like, why do we pass the ball so slowly? Why do we pass the ball backwards so slowly? Why does that player keep his head down and not look up enough? There's loads and loads that Rangnick would look at. Slow tempo, moving the ball too slowly, not making the right passes, not picking up the runners. There's a lot that he would want from that team that would be very different to the way Carrick set us up. And respect to Carrick, whether he was right or wrong, I saw an embracement from Bruno at the end, and I wondered whether that's the end of Carrick, whether he's going to walk. I don't think he is. Looking forward to... But welcome to the Members Club, Sean. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. But Carrick today played like he's been doing for the last 2 years under Ollie. That was an Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer performance. I mean, to be honest with you, there was times when it went to the touchline and I expected to see Ollie. But what it was a good Ollie performance. That was the performance where we win. That was the fine margins performance that Ollie always used to speak about. But that's over. That's nothing to be negative about. That is over. Tomorrow is a new Manchester United, and Sunday afternoon against Palace is a new United. Now, we're not going to play like prime bloody Leipzig straight away. It's going to take some time. Some players will make it, some players won't. But it's a new dawn, and it's a new team, and it's a new start. And I'm very excited about how it's going to play out. Because I thought tonight at times, it was a weird audition from Carrick at times, because there were so many times where the defensive line was so far away from the attack. It was a bit like Leicester. But because we were at home, we were a little bit more compact defensively. Because I think against Leicester, we played Pogba and Matic. And one thing McTominay and Fred do is they stay very close to the centre-back. So it was harder for Arsenal to get through as like Leicester did. But there was so many times, especially the first 10 minutes, where Arsenal really pressed us in, and it was with Maguire and Lindelof. They were very deep. They're having to hit long balls. It definitely wasn't an influenced performance by Ralph Rangnick. It was definitely a Carrick, McKenna style of football. And ultimately it worked. And I'm not going to spend any time talking about Arsenal, but that was a game that Arsenal should not have been coming out losing. And we deserved to win, but I'm just saying, for their season, we were vulnerable, more vulnerable than we should have been today. Last game for Carrick, I think Carrick was given the reins, and Carrick did something Ollie couldn't do. But it has to stop now. It's enough now. I don't want any more of it, because I do still find it. I did still find portions of that game very, very similar to what we've seen over the last year. So I'm very excited about the future. David says, is it possible the team tried hard to do what Ollie Carrick wanted and brought it to the plan, but the plan was just shit, says David. I don't think that's what happened. I think the players liked Carrick and they liked Ollie, but the tactics ultimately weren't good enough. Thoughts on the fullbacks? Well, we'll go through that, Dejan. There are some positives before we do the player ratings. Sorry about my nose, it is blocked. John says, we've goals in our team with our strikers and attacking midfielders. Rangnick needs to organise the back line, says John. Rashford loses the ball, doesn't even bother to try and get it back, says Jar. And Fred actually played well, says Victor. And our pressing was much better, but Carrick needed to make subs earlier. Sancho was dead, says Rishant. And I don't want to see people saying Ronaldo doesn't press because he was pressing today, says Ryan. The story of that game, in a sentence, was fine margins. I think that we took our big chances. Ramsdale didn't make a worldie. Ramsdale was very close to the Bruno one. He didn't save it. Straight after half time, De Gea has a similar save and saves it. Aubameyang is in and De Gea saves it. I think the difference between that game, if you're an Arsenal fan, I would be blaming those two chances, because United took their clinical chances. Arsenal missed two really good chances. One just after half-time and then Aubameyang later on. So I think what happened in that game is that Ronaldo won us the game, because Ronaldo took his chances and Arsenal didn't. And it was a very equal game, and I think in a way that's a good thing for United, because some people, at times it looked like Arsenal were a better team than us, and I think they were better organised, but we were certainly good enough for a draw, and nobody can take the win away from us either. So I think that Arsenal just weren't clinical with the chances. Ramsdale didn't make any big saves. De Gea made 2 or 3 big saves in that game. So that was the difference for me. Ronaldo's clinical. United clinical. Bruno was clinical as well. And, De Gea made some saves that he didn't. Carrick's left the club. Right. Well, I saw that. Give me a tap. Give me a clap. Carrick leaves. Carrick has left the club. Let me just check that while we're live. I sense that at the end. I sense that. You sense that in his press conference. He stepped down as first team coach and leave Man United following the conclusion of his spell at Manchester United. So Carrick resigns from Manchester United. That is the breaking news. Michael Carrick has resigned. And you know what? When you look back on things, it makes total sense. And to be fair, you've got to give credit to the people in the chat and me who said, when Bruno embraced Carrick, that felt like it was the end of something. So Carrick has gone. And you know what? I'm actually very pleased. I think Michael Carrick walks out of Manchester United with Ollie 2 weeks ago, and his reputation's in tatters. He now walks out of Manchester United with 2 wins and a draw, and the opportunity to go in something. And maybe Michael Carrick has just decided that, it wasn't really fair that Ollie got the blame. And so, yeah, put respect on Carrick's name for that. I must admit, I think it's the right decision. I do think it's the right decision for Carrick. I think it's a great decision for Manchester United. Carrick has very close ties with a lot of ex-players in the media. He has got that connection. So the amount of disrespect that Fred gets is unreal. We'll talk about that in a minute, Jacob. But Michael Carrick has resigned as Manchester United coach, and he will leave immediately. This is breaking news. And I think this is good news, because this is new Manchester United tomorrow. New Manchester United, not old Manchester United. So Michael Carrick will leave Manchester United. Let me just let people know in the voice note. Yeah. Doughty's on it already. So yeah, I think it's absolutely spot on. Official statement from the club. What are your thoughts? We're going to do player ratings in a minute. It sort of takes away a lot of what I was going to say about the game, because I ultimately think Michael Carrick deserves a lot of respect now because he's done the right thing. His style of football, and when you look back on it, you look back on his press conference yesterday, there was a lot of hints. He didn't seem overly enthusiastic about Rangnick. He was very committed to, I've made my decisions about Ronaldo. I have my style of football that's very similar to Ollie. And then when he embraced Bruno at the end, that just felt like too much of an embrace for a man that's going to be coaching them tomorrow. So I think that Carrick going, was he pushed? Did Rangnick say, I haven't got a job for you? I don't know. But that to me is a big, big move by the club, because Ollie's gone, Carrick's gone, Phelan does nothing, and that leaves just McKenna. So that's 75% of the managerial team broken up, and that's a start. That's a reset. That's a new Manchester United. So I'm very, very pleased about it. We need to change direction. Fair play to Michael Carrick for being loyal to Ollie. What about McKenna and Phelan, says Ashley Crane? We don't know. Mark, you missed my super chat about Fred. What's going on with Rashford? We're going to talk about that, Jeff, when we do the player ratings. AA says, I'm very happy that Carrick is leaving. I did not want him to involve with this team anymore. I didn't want him to influence Rangnick at all. And they need to start playing Sancho on the right wing, says Ainsley. Thought something was going on when Fernando was hugging him at the end. Yeah, Hugh, that was the big moment for me. When Bruno and Carrick embraced, it seemed a little bit more than winning 3-2 against... But you know what? I think it's quite nice, because with Ollie going, we heard even from Romano that players felt like Ollie went but nothing changed. And with Rangnick coming in tomorrow, it does feel like it's a start, like a fresh start. And the players will feel like it's a fresh start with Rangnick anyway. But with Carrick now going, Ollie gone, you're breaking apart the management team massively. And now we've got a new manager. And I think it's the right thing. I think it's the right thing. It doesn't undermine the new manager. The new manager doesn't have to be loyal to the old coaches who, were responsible for what went wrong as well. Carrick was as responsible as Ollie, as Phelan and McKenna are as well. So I think I'm going to sneeze, but excuse me if you've got headphones in. Michael Carrick has stepped down. I'm not crying. I've got a cold. I don't really mention it. But lovely chat here. Super chat from Gaz Hardy. He says, Carrick deserves respect that Ollie got in terms of what he's done. Even more that he knows he was a problem. So I applaud him. I applaud him, Gaz. I do applaud him. I think that, he's got us 4 points from 2 Premier League games that were difficult games. He's got us 3 in the Champions League. He steadied the ship and then he moved on, which was the right thing to do. If he'd have stayed, I would have been a bit like, I don't know whether it's right for him to stay, but him going, absolutely spot on. Welcome to the Members Club, James. And Vicky says, new era begins, I'll be there versus Palace. Well, Vicky, enjoy it. But look, that's the thing for me. How can you reset? Carrick is about to talk about leaving, says Apollo. How can you reset when a team is not, performing the way it should have done under that previous coaching setup? New start, reset, that's what it's all about for Manchester United. And if I can get you, I think there are some quotes coming out from Michael Carrick, so let me just have a quick look if I can get them for you, and then we'll do the player ratings. Michael Carrick has decided to step down as first team coach and leave the club following the conclusion. So that would have been a pre-agreed thing that he was going to go anyway. That wouldn't be a spur of the moment thing. I think the players obviously knew as well, and I think the players obviously probably so club statement from Manchester United here. Let me just read it to you. Michael Carrick has decided to step down as first team coach and leave the club following the conclusion of his spell as caretaker manager. Murtagh said, Michael leaves with the sincerest thanks and best wishes for everything he's done after 15 years. He'll always be known as one of the finest midfielders in the history of Manchester United. We're grateful for the steady leadership Michael has shown through this period of managerial transition, and while he's now stepping away from day-to-day involvement, he'll always be welcome as a legend of the club. Michael Carrick said, my time at this great club will always rank as the best years of my career when I first signed over 15 years ago. I never in my wildest dreams could have imagined winning so many trophies. However, after a lot of thought and deliberation, I've decided that now is the right time for me to leave the club. I want to place on record my thanks to all of the players, and a special mention goes to the backroom staff. Working long hours with such a great group of people has been a real pleasure, and I've made some long-lasting friendships. I am and always will be a Manchester United fan and will come to as many matches as possible. I would like to wish Ralph, the staff and the players and fans all the best for the future. I think, perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's exactly what we need. You know, even if you look at that game today, you would look at that game today and say there were still glaring errors in it. There were still glaring problems in the way that we played. We were still very slow. We still had massive gaps between the back and the front. But we won a game. And, you know, I think if we played Arsenal next week at the Emirates, you wouldn't be necessarily confident we would win the game with the same tactics. So it's the time to go forward. Somebody said, what a night. Lots of people are saying perfect. As long as the perfect is done with respect for Carrick, he could have clung on. I tell you what, United would have kept him. So that's the measure of the man, really, to go with Ollie. I think it's the right decision. United do need to move on. He was part of the problem with Ollie, and I think it's the right thing for him to do. So I applaud it. I respect it. He's got to win at the end. And I hope he can go and have a career somewhere else, because one thing's for definite with the Carrick thing is that we don't know who's going to replace Carrick yet, Stockton. One thing's for definite with the Carrick thing is that there was always a little chance that Rangnick did well, Carrick did well, and then in the summer they go, Carrick's the job. That we will definitely be bringing a manager in the summer now. There is nobody at that club who can become the manager when Rangnick moves out of interim, unless it's Rangnick, of course. So yeah, good luck to him. Good luck to him. I'm not crying. I've got a cold. What it means for Scott McTominay is probably quite interesting, because Carrick's a big fan of McTominay. Ollie was a big fan of McTominay. But this is the reset you want. McTominay will probably start against Palace. He'll probably start for Rangnick. No one's saying that won't happen, but you want a reset. This is a new start. When you sack Solskjaer, really his coaching staff should go with him. That's what normally happens. You don't sack a manager and then leave his coaches in place. This is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do because it's a reset. And when Rangnick comes in tomorrow, he won't have Carrick in his ear going, I think you should play this player. I think you should play that player. It's all for him. And as that guy says, excited for tomorrow. New Manchester United. Hopefully we can challenge for top 4. It's hay fever, says that guy. It can't be hay fever. It's cold and frosty here. Anyway, let's do the player ratings. But Michael Carrick has resigned as Manchester United manager and will leave with immediate effect, which I think is the right thing to do. And it's a good thing for Manchester United. It's a good thing for Carrick, and it's a good thing for the reset that we have. Right, let's do these player ratings because life's too short. We've also got a fan forum coming straight after this where they're going to talk about Carrick in more depth, because we'll have the quotes from Carrick on that show. But let's do the player ratings. You can do yours through the link in the video description. Mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average star for your man of the match. I think it's going to be very interesting because for me, David De Gea was a 7.5 today, but I'll give him a 7.2. So we're off to a good start there. I thought Delot had a good game as well. I'd probably give him a 7.5, so I'd give him 7 as well. I always go a little bit below her, but 6. I thought Delot did well today. He's not like Tellez. He hasn't actually played a lot of games, Delot. So you're always getting an element of rustiness. And Villarreal, he didn't do very well in the home leg in that game. He was done on toast a few times. But this is a Premier League game, and he did quite well. And I think if he was given more opportunities, and Palace probably at the weekend, it's an opportunity for him. And a lot of you like Delot, so he did well. Lindelof, for me, probably a 6.5. I'd give him a 6. So, yeah, we're close there. Generally steady. But, the Martinelli winning that header against him in the first half is just the problem with Lindelof. He's just a little bit weak. That's the problem. James is going to super chat. He says, Delot had barely any crosses and looked trouble on defence at times. Still not a bad performance. And all the very best to Carrick, says Aradia. And here's to the win. Insane respect to Carrick for stepping down, says Scott E. Yeah. Maguire, I'd probably give him a 6 today. A couple of times he looked very rusty again. But, I certainly couldn't put him at fault for any of the goals, I don't think. He did hit the ball wide to Rashford that Tavra. I mean, it was okay. It was an average performance from Harry Maguire, which, to be honest, is an improvement on the last month. So that was good. And Tellez, look, probably at fault as well for the second goal a little bit. But I'd probably give him a 6.5. Yeah, so we're close. We're close. And on Tellez, again, he's not played a lot of football this season. So, coming into a game like that, it could have been a lot worse. And defensively, he always worries me a little bit anyway. So I thought it was a decent enough performance, 6.5, just above average. Scott McTominay. Look, I don't want to be sort of doing this. I'm going to give him higher than I'm going to give him a 5. And I knew you'd give him a 4.3. He was below average. He was probably a 4. But I'll give him a 5. But I genuinely felt he was invisible. He got a yellow card. He should have been subbed off. Donny can do that job better than him. And anyone who says, well, Donny can't do that job better than him, he did it better than him for 45 minutes against Watford in the second half in exactly the same position. He plays the forward passes, he makes the tackles, and he moves the ball. I don't understand why we use Scott McTominay. He's had so many opportunities in a United shirt, and we're just clinging on for an average performance so we can go, he played okay. Like, he was poor today. His passing is terrible. His tackling was awful. He's at fault for the goal, the second goal, because he's not picked up Smith Rowe, who was behind Odegaard if he didn't score. So I just don't think he had a good game today. And we move on, and let's see if Rangnick can turn him into a player, because I think he's had a lot of opportunities and Donny deserves a chance. Fred, to me today, 7.5. Now, 6.4 is probably because he had a Marmite performance, but Fred's basically got us 2 goals to get today. The penalty, the assist for Bruno, driving into the box, something that he's going to have to do more under Rangnick. Yes, his passing is bad. Yes, he was at fault for the second goal. Yes, look, I'm not blaming anyone for the first goal. I mean, I know Fred fouls De Gea, but it was an accident, wasn't it, at the end of the day? But I actually think Fred was a 7.5, and I think there's a lot of potential for him in the Rangnick system. I look at that midfield two of McTominay and Fred. I don't know how Rangnick's going to turn McTominay into a player. Let's see if he can. But with Fred, I do see the foundation to turn him into a player. And in fairness to Fred had a decent game against Chelsea, and he's had a very, Fred's done some bad things today, he's done some great things today. It's a very hard game. Some people will give him an 8, some people will give him a 6. So I've given him a 7.5. But, I'm not going to lie and say that Fred didn't do some bad things, but he also got us 2 goals. So he would be a man of the match contender for me, Fred. Bruno, look, it wasn't a huge improvement for Bruno. I'd probably give him a 6. But, I still think Bruno is not playing anywhere near his level, but he scored an important goal. His passing was a lot better. His energy was better. But, he's still playing in a side that was very like Ollie, where it's not going to get the best out of him. I expect to see a massive improvement in Bruno over the next few weeks. But good for him to get a goal. And the same for Ronaldo as well. Sancho, a little bit quiet today. Probably give him a 6.5. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Really good ball into into Fred. And, just good to see Sancho playing football. But I would like to have seen Sancho playing off the right-hand side a little bit more, to be honest with you. Look, Rashford, another 5 for me. The only thing that he did well was get the assist. And that came from a mistake, didn't it? It came from Tavares. He's got loads of space. He squared it well to Ronaldo. But there was a couple of times with Rashford today, certainly in the second half, where he's running in from the left. Bruno's square to him. There's Ronaldo in the box. He's just got his head down, running into 3 Arsenal players. He loses the ball, and I think they went up the other end and they nearly scored. So we've got to work on this with Rashford. We know we've got to do it with Greenwood. We've got to do it with Rashford as well. Get your head up. Play as a team player. Stop getting your head down and trying to score goals when there's a pass on. And look, Ronaldo could have slipped Rashford in the first half as well. Ronaldo was guilty of it, but Rashford's not Ronaldo. If Rashford wants to have a career anywhere near Ronaldo, he's got to get his head up and start passing. And also, I don't think his pressing was very good again, which is a shame. But he's another player that is going to be very interested in under Rangnick. Ralph saw a summary of United as a whole in the whole 90. The first half and second half sums up United now. Let's reset, says Football Bloods TV. Carrick has resigned. Yes, we'll be talking about that more in a moment and on the fan forum. Who are we at now? Ronaldo for me, probably a 7.5. 7.9 for you. Again, look, he worked really hard, Ronaldo, today. He did work really hard. The goals are easy. The tap in and the penalty, it's what Ronaldo would expect, but that's what he's in the team for. Ronaldo would have still got a 7 from me today, 7.5 from me today without the goals. I thought his work rate was really, really good. But strikers are there to score goals, so that's why people will have given him 8s, because he scored 2 goals. And he could have had a hat-trick, and that's what his job is. And the goals were very takeable, but he's in the right position and he puts them in the back of the net. He's clinical. Aubameyang at the other end should score. De Gea makes the save, and that's the difference between a Ronaldo and an Aubameyang, is that Ronaldo makes it look very easy. Jesse ran around a lot, give him a 6. Martial, barely knew you, 6. Donny, 6. And Carrick, you know what? I'd probably give him a 7.5, because I think, he's won the game. But I'll give him a 7.5 because he's left. He's resigned. And I think that's exactly the right thing for Michael Carrick to have done. I respect him for it. I think, Ollie was his mate. Ollie and him shared a lot of similarities. a lot of conversations, a lot of tactics, and I suspect Carrick felt guilty that Ollie got the sack and was probably always thinking about going anyway, but did something for the club for 2 weeks. You know, the football's not been great, but he got us back like Ollie did last year with fine margin wins, and he's done that today, and he's got a point against Chelsea. And we're now 2 points off. I mean, look, if you look at the league table now, let's have a quick look at it. Can I have a look at the league table? Premier League. I haven't even looked at this yet. So if you look at the table now, it's not about where we are. We're still in 7th, but we are 3 points off 4th. 10 points off 3rd. That's going to be very difficult to do anything about that. But the first priority for Rangnick is to get us in the top 4. And when you look at the run of games that we've got to come, we're 3 points off top 4. West Ham are with 3 points off West Ham. We play Chelsea at the weekend. We play Palace, then we play Norwich, then we play Brentford, then we play Brighton, then we play Newcastle, then we play Burnley, and then we play Wolves, and then we play Villa. So we've got a lot of points to play for there. A lot of points. It almost reminds me of when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took over United after Mourinho. There was a really good run of fixtures to go on a good run. I expect that to happen. I expect Ronaldo to score a lot of goals. What did you think of the lineup today? Delo for wing-back, Donny van der Beek. Donny van der Beek should be playing where McTominay is Louis Love, for me. With all the staff gone now, who's going to do the post-match conference? Says Azim. And what do you think of the lineup? They've done that from there. And Carrick goes down as the only unbeaten manager in Man United history. Rangnick's smile at the end looked forced. He wasn't pleased. New start now, says Just Football. There's a lot of work for him to do. You know, I still think United are capable of playing Brighton and getting beat. And what I mean by that is that Brighton are well coached. And I still think if we come up against a well-coached team, we'll get beat. I think Arsenal today, for some reason, played within themselves. But Rangnick knows there's a lot of work to do. I'm really getting bugged up here. Right, player rating. Man of the match. I'm going to give it to Fred. I know it's controversial, but I'm going to give it to Fred because he's had a lot of stick. I don't think he's quite there yet, but I'm going to give it to Fred. But 69% of you went with Ronaldo, which doesn't surprise me. Fred only got 9% of the vote. It was actually De Gea in second place with 22% of the vote. So it just shows you how dominant it was for Ronaldo and then De Gea. Fred didn't get anywhere near it. But I would give it to Fred. 69 for Ronaldo. He's going to enjoy that. But I think that Fred deserved a bit of recognition today. I thought De Gea was fantastic again as well. Fred's performance wasn't perfect, but it did. It was decent, and I think that two key involvements in a goal is big. But please smash a like on the video. It's the end of an era. Michael Carrick goes, and Manchester United win the game, and it was a definite 6-pointer. If Arsenal win that, we're 8 points behind them. We win it, and we're 2 points behind them, 3 points behind West Ham, who that late goal from Brighton yesterday is perfect for us as well. And I'm just very excited because tomorrow is a reset. Tomorrow is a new Manchester United at last. And we, don't forget, 9 o'clock tomorrow, press conference tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I'll be live straight after it to discuss everything Rangnick said. It's a new United. We'll get answers about his assistant coach, his style of play. It's going to be very exciting. But look, Michael Carrick going tonight, I respect that. Let's get over to the fan forum and discuss it a little bit more. Thanks everyone who's been watching the watch along and this with me tonight. We battled through it. I'm going to go and get a bit of rest before that press conference. But we've got obviously we've got fan vlogs, and the fan forum is already up and live. Got Beth and everybody over there talking about Michael Carrick going. So I know a lot of people want to talk about it. Get over to the fan forum. In fact, I'll push you over there now. They're live to talk about Michael Carrick leaving Manchester United. Get over to the fan forum. Carrick's gone. Put it in the chat.